So you guys remember that Samsung J2 model phone that I reviewed and looked at in one of the very first videos that I ever uploaded to this YouTube channel? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's back. Yep, it is back. And today, just like I sorta tweaked at, I guess, I sorta hinted at in that video, today we are going to be upgrading this phone, or at least trying to add as many upgrades and customizations to it as possible, so we can then see what kind of performance boost we get with all of those different customizations and modifications. So I mean, without further ado, let's get started. Now, if you're curious to see how this phone performs stock in its stock form, and just how this phone performs and its specs and everything else in general, then I highly recommend you check out the video I did on this phone so you guys can get a better idea of how this phone is overall stock. But today we are going to be adding some upgrades to this phone. Now, the very first thing that came to my mind when doing some upgrades and customizations to this phone is to fully factory reset this phone, which meant that I would just, well, fully reset this phone back to how it was when it was first booted up in its new factory form. And so, while that did take quite some time, it was no trouble whatsoever, and most of it was just waiting around for the phone to finally get finished with resetting and deleting and reinstalling all of its files again. And once it was done, I went to the second thing which came to my mind, which was to go and debloat the OS, because oh my goodness, you guys do not know with how much bloatware this phone came with. I absolutely forgot how much bloatware this phone had, even in its factory resetted form. It was absolutely insane. It was like Windows 11 vibes all over again. But after factory resetting the phone and fully debloating it, or at least debloating it as much as I could, I then went to some more technical things, should I say. At first, I had this whole plan where I would add like dual batteries and a cooler on this phone and whatnot, but then I did some research and I saw just how dangerous it was to actually do this, especially with older phones which are more used and etc, like this one. And I mean, I'm sorry guys, but I don't want to risk my entire life trying to go and upgrade a very, very bad phone. So yeah, I thought, you know what? This phone is kinda not worth my entire life, so I guess I'll just have to make some more safer changes to this phone, I guess. And so I had some leftover grates and plastic covers and stuff like that from an old laptop which I had taken apart, and so I decided, you know what? These would be actually perfect to put on this phone. And I was like, you know what? These would actually probably be perfect little grates to put on the phone so that more air could flow through this phone. And so I got to it, but I instantly had one issue. This phone, well, I mean, let's just say it didn't really have any space in it. It only had just enough space for its SIM slot, the battery, and then the little slot where you can like take it off to get the monitor connection exposed. And that was that. There was literally no space in this phone. So what I needed to do, and I have IRL proof because my friend was like right next to me when I was doing this, I had to painstakingly, I had to take metal cutting pliers and I had to cut through this phone's plastic protection so that I could then make as much space as possible for the grates and little pieces of this phone that they would go onto. I finally had enough space, put together the two grates that I had, one for the battery so that more air could flow much more nicely through the battery, and one where the GPU and CPU were. And then after doing all of these smaller changes and upgrades, I then went to customizing the phone to my liking, and after all of this customization and upgrading, what was the actual difference of this phone? Well, you guys were probably now expecting some benchmarks or some video recordings or gameplay recordings, just like I had done in the last video, right? Well, yeah, I did have those recordings. A huge emphasis on did, because while I was clearing out my phone, I did the typical mistake of accidentally deleting the recordings I had of me playing the games on this now newly upgraded, and I'm really sorry about this. You can believe me or not believe me if you want to, that's your thing, but just keep in mind that in the following statements I'm gonna make, I have no video proof whatsoever, but I do have some IRL proof of some friends, so I mean that's at least something. But anyhow, what are my final thoughts on this newly fully upgraded and customized phone? Well, it's still absolutely trash. Heck, it's even worse. Yeah, I somehow managed to make it even worse than the previous version or the default version of this phone. And it is just so baffling to me how I managed to do this. It's like, it's insane. I don't even know how I managed to do this. The performance is the same, if not slightly better, but like by like 0.1%, it's like hardly noticeable. And the phone is just so ugly. It's just, oh my goodness. And then not only that, but as a direct result, or maybe indirect result, God knows, of me making this phone extremely ugly, it is extremely uncomfortable to hold as well. So yeah, it's just absolutely horrible. Almost nothing has improved significantly. Some stuff has even managed to get way worse, and it's just insane. Like this is definitely a failed project, and I would love to revisit this project again, especially because I have 2 of these phones. But for now, yeah, no, definitely not. I feel like for now, at least for the next few months, maybe a year or 2, I think it's enough experimenting and playing around with the Samsung J2, aka, as I've liked to nickname it, one of the worst phones I and probably a lot of other people have ever seen/used.